little to win, but nothing to lose.
Before classic rock radio narrowed the 60s down to the same 20 songs, jukeboxes across America were full of something weirder, wilder, and way more fun. This is the Rock Lens, counting down 12 rock songs that only the kids who were actually there still remember, and the true stories behind them are wilder than you think. Let's start at number 12.
Okay, let's give it to him right now.
Number 12, Walk Away Renee, The Left Bank.
Points one way.
16-year-old Michael Brown was a classically trained keyboard prodigy hanging around his father's tiny New York recording studio when a girl named Renée Fladen walked in one night to watch her boyfriend's band rehearse.
From deep inside.
That boyfriend was Tom Finn, the bass player in Brown's own group, The Left Banke. Brown was instantly, hopelessly smitten, and completely unable to do anything about it. The crush hit him so hard, he could barely function in the studio.
The tears that I'm forced to cry.
Brown later admitted his hands were shaking so badly during a session that he couldn't even play his own harpsichord part, while Renée sat watching from the control room. He had to leave and come back later just to finish recording.
Pain that I chose to hide.
Out of that unrequited, entirely one-sided teenage obsession came Walk Away Renee, released in 1966, a devastatingly mature song about loving someone enough to let them go, written by a heartbroken kid who'd never even dated her. The song shot to number 5 on the Billboard chart. Brown wasn't done pining either. The band's very next single, Pretty Ballerina, was also secretly about Renée. She eventually moved on to become a respected classical vocal coach in San Francisco, likely never fully realizing she'd inspired two of the most beautiful heartbreak songs of the entire decade. Number 11, Talk Talk, The Music Machine. Long before punk or goth existed as genres, a Los Angeles band called The Music Machine was already living the aesthetic. Every member dressed head to toe in black clothes, black instruments, even dyed black hair, and each of them wore a single black leather glove on one hand, a uniform meant to erase individual identity and present the band as one unified, menacing entity. To match the look, frontman Sean Bonnewell detuned the entire band's instruments down a half step from standard pitch, specifically to create a heavier, darker sound, a trick that wouldn't become common practice again until heavy metal bands rediscovered it decades later. The result, 1966's Talk Talk, clocked in at under 2 minutes of pure snarling alienation and became the band's only top 20 hit, blasting out of car radios up and down Sunset Boulevard. Despite the massive local buzz, Bonnewell said his total lifetime income from the song, and everything else the band recorded, came to roughly $7,000, a brutal reminder that even a genuinely groundbreaking garage rock sound couldn't guarantee a fair payday in the mid-60s music business.
Oh, it serves me right, but I can't sleep at night.
Number 10, Incense and Peppermints, Strawberry Alarm Clock. Incense and Peppermints became a #1 smash in 1967, selling over 1 million copies and defining the entire Summer of Love sound. There's just one small problem. The voice singing lead on the record didn't belong to anyone in Strawberry Alarm Clock at all. The song was originally meant to be a throwaway B-side, and none of the band's actual singers liked how their voices sounded on the playback, so the producer turned to Greg Munford, a 16-year-old kid from a completely different, unrelated band who happened to be hanging around the studio that day, and asked him to take a crack at the lead vocal instead. Munford nailed it in what became one of the biggest hits of the year. He never officially joined Strawberry Alarm Clock, never performed the song live with them, and by most accounts, never got the credit he deserved. To add insult to injury, even the songwriting credits went to two outside professionals rather than the band members who'd actually written the music. Decades later, keyboardist Mark Weitz went out of his way in interviews to make sure Munford finally got some recognition, saying flatly that without his voice, the song simply never would have made it.
If you just learned something you never knew before, there is a whole lot more where that came from. Hit subscribe to The Rock Lens. Every single week, we go deeper into the real stories, secrets, and hidden history behind the music you have loved your whole life. The button is right there. One click. We will see you in the next one.
Number 9. Surfin' Bird, the Trashmen. Surfin' Bird sounds like it was invented in a fever dream, and in a way, it was. The Minneapolis garage band The Trashmen, who, notably, had absolutely nothing to do with actual surf culture, caught a local cover band playing a doo-wop song called The Bird's the Word one night, and thought it sounded suspiciously similar to another song they already knew, Papa Mau Mau. During their very next live set, drummer Steve Warrer just started mashing the two songs together on the spot, ad-libbing the now legendary gibberish middle section as he went. A local DJ in the crowd loved it so much, he hauled the band into a studio to record it properly. The resulting single, released in November 1963, sold 30,000 copies in its first weekend alone and rocketed to number 4 on the Billboard chart. There was just one issue. Both of those original songs belonged to a Los Angeles doo-wop group called the Rivingtons, who were none too pleased to discover their music had been chopped up and repackaged without credit. They threatened to sue, and the Trashmen's management quietly signed over full songwriting credit to avoid a courtroom battle, meaning the Rivingtons have collected royalties on Surfin' Bird for over 60 years now, every single time Family Guy plays it. Number 8. 96 Tears, Regger and the Mysterians. The frontman of Hulley and the Mysterians has never, in 6 decades of interviews, confirmed his own real name. He performs exclusively as a single punctuation mark. Never removes his sunglasses in public, and has claimed at various points to have been born on the planet Mars and to have personally witnessed dinosaurs roaming the Earth. Some music historians genuinely believe Rudy Martinez, the name on the songwriting credit, might itself be an invented alias. Whatever his actual origin story, the band itself was real. A group of Mexican-American teenagers from a blue-collar corner of Michigan who recorded 96 Tears in a basic basement studio in 1966. Built around an unforgettable, carnival-like organ riff played on a Vox Continental keyboard. The song shot to number 1 and ended up as the second best-selling single of the entire year, trailing only California Dreamin'. The mystery man's offstage life proved considerably less glamorous than his mythology. In 1968, Michigan State Police arrested him, alongside 2 other men, near a bridge outside his hometown, for possessing tubes of glue meant for inhalant use. A strange, deflating footnote for a frontman who'd built his entire persona on claiming to be an alien visitor from another world. Number 7. Hanky Panky, Tommy James and the Shondells. Tommy James recorded Hanky Panky back in 1964 as a teenager in Niles, Michigan, improvising half the lyrics on the spot because he'd only heard the original version once and didn't actually know all the words. It sold modestly around the Midwest, then completely vanished. The Shondells broke up. James finished high school and moved on with his life. Then, in 1965, something bizarre happened 500 miles away in Pittsburgh, entirely without his knowledge.
And you'll start crying.
A local DJ dug an old copy of the song out of a used record bin and started playing it on air, and Pittsburgh teenagers went absolutely wild for it.
For just a little while.
A local promoter, sensing an opportunity, pressed up bootleg copies on his own makeshift label and sold over 80,000 of them in just 10 days, all without paying James a single dime or even telling him it was happening.
I'll be on time. You be right down there.
James found out only when he got a phone call informing him the song was the #1 record in an entire city he'd never performed a single show in. He rushed to Pittsburgh, discovered his original band members had all scattered to college and jobs, and simply recruited a random local bar band to become his new Shondells on the spot.
I'll just cry.
2 months later, Hanky Panky was the #1 song in the entire country.
96 tears, you're gonna cry.
Number 6. Dirty Water, the Standells. Every time the Boston Red Sox win at Fenway Park, Dirty Water blasts through the stadium speakers as an unofficial civic anthem, complete with the triumphant declaration, "Boston, you're my home." Here's the twist. Almost nobody in that crowd realizes. Not a single member of the Standells had ever set foot in Boston when they recorded it in 1965. They were an entirely Los Angeles-based garage band.
Well, I love that dirty water.
The song was actually written by their producer, Ed Cobb, after a considerably less romantic personal experience. He'd been visiting the city with his girlfriend when 2 men attempted to mug them on a bridge over the Charles River. The muggers fled, but the unsettling encounter stuck with Cobb, and he channeled it into gritty lyrics, referencing the polluted Charles River, Boston University's strict dormitory curfews for women, and even the real-life Boston Strangler, who was actively terrorizing the city at the time. The Standells themselves weren't even impressed with the demo when Cobb first handed it to them. It became a modest hit in 1966, and then largely faded from memory, until Boston sports teams rediscovered it decades later and adopted an unflattering song about their own city's grime and crime as a genuine point of civic pride. Number 5. Psychotic Reaction. Count 5. Count 5 were a group of San Jose teenagers, most of them still enrolled in college, who scored one massive hit in 1966 with Psychotic Reaction, a fuzz-drenched, harmonica-wailing garage anthem that shot all the way to number 5 on the Billboard chart. They then did something almost no successful band in rock history has ever done. At the peak of their fame, with roughly $1 million in future concert bookings reportedly on the table, they simply broke up and went back to finish their college degrees. That should have been the end of the story. Instead, in 1971, a young rock critic named Lester Bangs, who genuinely disliked both the band and the song, wrote an elaborate, wildly fictionalized history of Count 5 for Cream magazine, inventing entire fake album releases and dramatized band exploits that never actually happened, purely as an experiment in satirical music journalism. The joke backfired spectacularly. Bangs' invented mythology became one of the most famous pieces of rock criticism ever written, and it ended up making Count 5 more culturally significant in retrospect than they ever were in real life. A band that quit music to go to college, immortalized decades later by a critic who was mocking them the whole time. Number 4. Gloria, The Shadows of Night. Van Morrison's original version of Gloria recorded with his band Them in 1964, contained one line that got it banned outright from Chicago's most powerful radio station, a lyric describing a girl coming into the singer's room late at night. It was tame by today's standards, but scandalous enough in the mid-60s to keep the song off the airwaves entirely in one of America's biggest radio markets. A scrappy Chicago-area garage band called the Shadows of Night saw an opportunity in that ban. They recorded their own cover of Gloria in December 1965 and made exactly one small but crucial lyrical change. Instead of the girl coming into his room, she simply called out his name. That single word swap was enough to satisfy the censors at powerhouse station WLS, who added the cleaned-up version to their playlist immediately. The strategy worked spectacularly.
Comes walking down my street.
The Shadows of Night's sanitized cover actually outperformed Van Morrison's original version on the American charts, climbing all the way to number 10 nationally. Proof that in 1966, the fastest way to a hit record wasn't necessarily better music, it was knowing exactly which 4 words to change. Number 3, Eve of Destruction, Barry McGuire.
World, it is exploding.
Eve of Destruction was written in a single overnight burst by 19-year-old songwriter P.F. Sloan, a rapid-fire protest song touching on the Vietnam War, nuclear anxiety, and the civil rights struggle all at once.
Eve of Destruction.
The Byrds turned it down. The Turtles recorded a version, but never even bothered releasing it as a single. It might have disappeared entirely, except for one accident.
But you tell me over and over.
Barry McGuire's vocal take was originally meant to be a rough, unpolished demo, recorded quickly in a single session. Before a proper final version could be made, an unfinished acetate copy leaked to a Los Angeles radio DJ, who put it on the air anyway.
Running away, there'll be no one to save.
McGuire's label got a call telling him to turn on the radio. He was stunned to hear his own unfinished demo recording blasting out to the entire city.
We're on the eve of destruction.
The song's raw urgency and blunt political content proved too much for many stations. It was banned outright across multiple American cities and by the BBC in Britain, with critics branding it dangerous, leftist propaganda.
Alone can't bring integration when human.
The controversy only fueled public curiosity, and Eve of Destruction rocketed to number 1 on the Billboard chart in September 1965. Proof that trying to silence a protest song in the 60s usually just made America want to hear it louder.
Respect is disintegrating this whole.
Number 2, I Had Too Much to Dream, Last Night, The Electric Prunes. A group of high school friends from Los Angeles' Taft High were just rehearsing in a garage one afternoon when a passing real estate agent happened to overhear them and was impressed enough to personally introduce them to a professional RCA recording engineer. That chance encounter turned a group of teenagers with a deliberately silly name, the Electric Prunes, into one of the strangest and most sonically groundbreaking bands of the entire psychedelic era. Their producer decided the band couldn't yet write hits themselves, so he brought in 2 outside songwriters who handed over a song called I Had Too Much to Dream, Last Night, originally composed as a slow orchestral piano ballad. The Electric Prunes had other plans. Guitarist Ken Williams had been experimenting with a Bigsby vibrato arm and a fuzztone pedal, and the band buried the gentle ballad underneath layers of eerie backward guitar, drenched reverb, and alien-sounding oscillation. The transformed track hit number 11 on the Billboard chart in 1967, and later opened the legendary Nuggets garage rock compilation, cementing it as a genre-defining classic. Here's the twist almost nobody knows. Their producer's own company legally owned the rights to the band's non. When the group's ambitious next project turned out to be far more technically demanding than the young musicians could handle, session musicians were quietly brought in partway through recording to finish the album. And by the time of their following release, an entirely different, unrelated band of musicians was recording and performing as the Electric Prunes, while the original members who'd created that iconic haunting sound had already been pushed out of their own group's name for good. Number 1. Louie Louie, the Kingsmen. The most investigated 3 minutes in rock and roll history almost didn't happen on purpose. When the Kingsmen recorded Louie Louie in 1963, they'd just finished a marathon gig the night before. Singer Jack Ely's voice was wrecked. The studio's microphone was positioned too high for him to reach comfortably, and what the band thought was just a rehearsal run-through turned out, by accident, to be the only take anyone ever recorded. The result was so mumbled and garbled that almost nobody could make out a single actual lyric. That vocal murk became the song's biggest asset. Rumors spread among teenagers that the real filthy lyrics had been deliberately buried in the mix, and hand-copied dirty versions of the words began circulating in schoolyards across the country. Outraged parents flooded Attorney General Robert Kennedy's office with letters, one declaring the supposed lyrics, "So filthy I cannot enclose them in this letter." The state of Indiana banned the song from radio outright. The Federal Bureau of Investigation officially opened a case. For more than 2 full years, FBI audio technicians played Louie Louie over and over, at every possible speed, interviewed the band and label executives, and filled out a genuine 119-page federal report. All in pursuit of song lyrics that, as written by original songwriter Richard Berry, were actually about a homesick sailor missing his girlfriend. The investigation officially closed in 1964, having found absolutely nothing. The one genuinely audible obscenity on the record, a drummer's muttered curse after dropping his stick 56 seconds in, was never even mentioned in the file.